With that being said, Mr. Chair, I'm going to move a motion with the remainder of my time, and then I will speak to the motion as procedurally correct. That as for the usual practice of the House of Commons standing committees, the Standing Committee on Government Operation and Estimates shall not meet during Parliament's summer recess unless the requirements of the 106.4 the standing orders are met. Now, this has been already provided as a notice of motion.
Sorry,
so
I'm going to interrupt. We're not in committee business. So you cannot move the motion.
It's already been put as a notice
But it
of
was
motion.
adjourned. Not in time. We adjourned the debate, so.
But I've already moved it, so it's alive. It's alive. It's completely in order. I've moved it. You guys filibustered it. It's already on the table.
Yeah, you can't just.
I'm going to challenge your decision then, Mr. Chair.
You can have the clerk weigh in as well if you wish.
I'll just challenge your decision right now. We can skip the clerk. I don't need the clerk. We can just challenge the decision. I still have the floor, thank you. So I'm challenging your decision.
Point of order. Yeah. Well, Mr. Green should know that when debate on a motion is adjourned, there is a procedurally appropriate way of resuming the debate on that matter. But you cannot just demand the immediate resumption of consideration of that matter. You can't just make up the rules. There are rules that guide how committees are supposed to work.
That's precisely what I'm getting at. So I'll challenge the decision.
I agree. Mr. Green, you can't just, there are procedural ways to do it. This is not the way. You cannot just, outside of committee business.
Mr. Chair, you're at the will of this committee, not the other way around. You've made a decision. I'm not going to challenge that decision. Call the vote.
Please do not give directions to the clerk, Mr. Green. I appreciate this is. And keep your comments to yourself till you have the floor, and you do not have the floor. And please do not be giving directions to our clerk. Thank you.
Okay, so the question is whether or not to maintain the chair's ruling. Mr. Pawlowski? No. Mr. Baines?
No.
Mr. Johari?
No.
Mr. Kuzmichak?
No.
Mr. Souza?
No.
Ms. Block?
We want to maintain his decision in favor.
Yay.
Yay.
Ms. Block?
You have to say into the microphone, yay.
I'm third.
Yay.
I'm subbed out.
Mr. Janice?
Yay.
Ms. Kuzi?
Yay. Yeah, maintaining the decision of it. Yeah, thank you.
Madame Vignara?
No.
And Mr. Green?
No. And now I'll speak to the motion. Thank you. Mr. Chair.
The result of the vote yet?
I think you can count.
3, 3. Nays compte. 7, 7.
Okay, so I have a point of order, Chair. You had just articulated the rules. Mr. Green challenged the chair on an obviously correct ruling. I guess I'm struggling to understand what the new reality is now that we've stepped outside of the Green Book and the standing orders. We're resuming debate on what, and are we into debate, or are we like I don't know where we are given that we haven't followed the rules.
Yeah, I'm going to actually confer with the clerk. I find this very odd that we actually have standing orders that we seem to decide we can overrule them when we don't wish
Resuming
to
debate.
follow proper procedures. So just give me a couple seconds, Mr. Generous. Well, apparently we're into a point where,
Thank you.
when you're done,
No, I'm good.
yeah, I'm referring to Mr. Kuzmierczak. We're into committee overruled, and you can introduce your new motion.
Well, I'm resuming debate on it, and
We're not
listen,
resuming debate, Mr. Green. You brought in a new motion.
well, it's the motion that I brought in last time that you all filibustered, and what we've discovered
Okay,
here.
Sorry, point.
Hold on, let me interrupt,
What we've
Mr. Green.
where
You
are we?
cannot-
What we've discussed. I don't
No,
need
Mr.
editorial
Green, let
on
me
my comments.
discuss.
He's
I
the
have
chair.
floor.
I have the floor.
No, I am the chair. Mr. Green, you tried to introduce a motion outside of committee business. I ruled you cannot introduce a motion outside of committee business under rules. The committee overruled me. That's fine. You're allowed to introduce a motion now. You can't just start
Okay.
making things up that you're reintroducing something. You're welcome to introduce a brand
Sure.
new motion, but we're not resuming a debate.
So you'd like me to restate the motion that as per the usual practice of the House of Commons standing committees, that the Standing Committee on Government Operations and Estimate shall not meet during Parliament's summer recess unless the requirements of the 106.4 of the standing orders are met. And now I'm going to speak to this, Mr. Chair.
Well, point of order, Chair. This motion is not substantially different than another motion that was previously introduced in this committee. Therefore, it's out of order. If you're going to introduce a new motion, it has to be substantially different than an existing motion, or you can move a motion to resume consideration of another motion. But you can't just move a new motion. And if you resume consideration of a previous motion, the person who previously has the floor, has the floor, which would be me. So.
I was going to say the motion is out of order because it has to be substantively different from the one that we had adjourned. You're not reintroducing it. You have tabled a whole new motion, and it's out of order because it's not substantively different.
Well, I'll challenge you on that as well.
You're entering very setting difficult precedents. But go ahead, sir.
Mr. Pawlowski, the question is whether or not to maintain the chair's ruling.
No.
Mr. Baines?
No.
Mr. Johari?
No.
Mr. Kuzmierczak?
Nope.
Mr. Souza?
No.
Exactly what
Ms. Bloch?
that follows the rules.
Yes.
And you guys just
didn't Jennings?
figure out what that was. Yay to sustain the chair.
Ms. Kuzi?
Yes.
Madame Vignola?
No.
Mr. Green?
No.
So yes pour 3, and nays contre 7, 7.
Go ahead.
I'll try another time. Thanks, Kelly.
Well, you could follow just the proper procedure and have a dilatory motion to resume, and we could
Socialists
avoid all
don't believe
this,
in
but
rules.
If you want to pursue this path, go ahead.
That taking into consideration the House of Commons administration will block times during the summer for technical blackouts when committees will be unable to meet, and that summer is a time when members spend time in their constituencies.
I do have a point of order.
Meeting
though.
with their
Could the
constituents,
new or the old
attending
motion be
committee
distributed
events.
in both official languages? or
And
at
the
least
members
one?
of this committee
Actually,
and
both.
subcommittees agree not to meet during the summer recess
I have a
except
point
for
of order.
meetings under Standing Order 106.
Yeah. So my point of order is, could the new or the old or whatever we're debating in this bizarro ruleless framework, could it be distributed so we can at least look at it?
Do you have it in English and French to distribute? Would you send it to the clerk to distribute?
And I'm on the list, I assume.
I have Mr. Genwes, then Mrs. Vignola. Did you wish to start, or do you wish to wait a few minutes to the?
I'd like it distributed, but I'm ready to,
Okay,
to start.
go ahead, Mr. Genwes.
If I put the motion, I still have the floor. I haven't given the floor up. My
Yeah, just on that point, Chair, because it's the same motion, I believe
it's not the same motion. It's
I believe
different.
I should have the floor because I had the floor and we were debating this motion last. If you're
You called a
resuming
point of
consideration
order.
Treating it
of
as
the motion,
a
You
same.
can't gain the floor by a point of order.
you're right. I can't gain the floor by a point of
Yeah,
order. But when you
Mr.
remove consideration on a previous
Mr.
previous
Green,
matter, then the member who
I
had the
believe
floor has the floor.
that it is we'll consider a whole new motion because overruled. But it appeared you had given up the floor when I had asked a question, but
No,
you wish to
I did
speak.
not.
Well,
Yeah, I just wanted to put into light, what's transpired here, which is the spirit of committees is that the committees direct their own course of action. And despite what I would consider to be the authoritarian instincts of the conservative leader, what we have is a situation where committees are going beyond what are the usual practices of having planning meetings, subcommittees, where all parties, all opposition parties, can determine the course and direction of a committee. To have conservative chaired committees decide unilaterally when and how and what we meet on is an authoritarian instinct that I think goes against the spirit of the standing orders. And what you witnessed in overturning your decision, sir, is a reminder that the committees are at the democratic will of the members of the committee. And so when people go on, and I've seen the conservative bot farms and rage farms online go on and on and on about shutting stuff down, couldn't be further from the truth. Now, New Democrats will stand up to conservatives and all the other cockamamie things that are happening here. We're going to take a position that we work in our constituency as well. When we come to Ottawa, this is part of the job. We come here as legislators, we do that. We've done that for a very long time. Our work, at least for me, is in Hamilton Centre. So when you have people go on a filibuster talking about how they're going on vacation in the summer and in the winter and in March break and they're always on vacation, that's crazy. Because for me, when I go back to my constituency, it's harder work. Now, maybe it's the case that the leader of the Conservative Party doesn't care to hear from Canadians in constituencies, but I'll tell you this, that as a New Democrat, my job is to represent my riding to the capital, not the capital to my riding, not the leader's office to my riding. So I'm very keen to get back and hear how Hamiltonians are facing the struggles that are before them. I'm keen to get very candid feedback about the direction they want to see from this country in the next little while. And, you know, like if there had been courtesy provided in other situations that would have included other parties in the decision-making and the direction, we wouldn't be here today. And we're in a minority government, despite whatever fantasy world Pierre Poilievre or Andrew Scheer, whoever wants to live in. I'll tell you this, Mr. Chair, that still at 40%, 60% of the country doesn't approve of the direction that the Conservative Party wants to take the country in. This is a minority government. Every committee is in a minority situation. It requires support from the other two opposition parties when you want to go in a direction. It's not the call of the chair. That's why we put these frameworks in place. The 106, to me, is the democratic way to recall a committee. It is the way in which you can find a willing partner in any of the other parties to decide the direction. But I'll tell you what, if the Conservative caucus can't find another party to cooperate on the direction of a committee, then it doesn't have a mandate to go in that direction. Pure and simple. Just as it was experienced here, whether it's irregular or not. I'm under no illusions that any of the common courtesies are going to be adhered to in any potential future fantasy land of a conservative iteration of government. I'm not naive. I know what to expect. But it doesn't mean I'm just going to accept it. So from that position, I just want to say, look, we're ready to work as we do in the House of Commons here in Ottawa with our job, back in our communities over the summer, and should a situation occur that merits investigation, I think it would be preposterous for anybody in the Conservative caucus to think that there's some kind of Bloc Québécois NDP cabal. We've been accused of a lot of things. I don't know that we've ever been accused of that. So if you can't find a willing partner in either of the other opposition parties, then you're on your own. Pure and simple. The stuff that I see online and I hear about it in my own committee in ethics, the vitriol and abuse and fortunately for me, I mean, I'm from Hamilton, so we got thick skin, but I'll tell you, if for the people that are watching, if you have any other illusions that, committees somehow ought to operate as though the Conservatives have a majority, that's not the case right now. I can't tell the future, but I can tell you right now that's not the case. So I'm here to put the Conservative caucus on notice that if they want to, if consider it a notice of motion or a dilatory motion, Mr. Chair, have the chuckle. But I promise you this, if you guys want to use your powers arbitrarily to call meetings without consulting with any of the other parties, it's going to get adjourned. It's going to get adjourned because we can count. We can count the votes in the room. And this is still a minority situation. So that's why I came in here fired up today. Kelly, I got a lot of respect for you, my friend. And I know that you just take, I know that you take, I know that you take your orders from the leadership like the rest of your caucus. I get it. But at the end of the day,
Point of order. Yeah.
Mr. Jonas?
Yeah, the member is now disparaging the chair and his.
not at all. I just said I have respect for him.
Yeah.
Let the Hansard show I have respect for him.
Let the Hansard show that you said I have respect for you, and you don't fulfill the functions of the chair properly. You take orders from somewhere else. That is not
that's
respect.
not a point of order.
That is no. It is a point of order. The standing orders have established rules around decorum, and that's a violation of that decorum.
Kelly, I apologize.
That's fine. Can you continue?
Yeah, I know that after me, it's going to be your guys, so I'm going to get everything.
No, sorry.
Rappel au règlement.
Madame?
Point of order. If we were 7 or 8 francophones around the table, all talking together simultaneously, and 2 anglophones, because nobody could understand what was going on, this would never fly. And this is what I've been putting up with for the last 15 minutes. So please, I have the courtesy of putting up your hand if you're going to intervene, and quit cutting in. It'll be a lot easier for you, and it'll be a lot easier for us, and for anybody who may be listening, or who are witnesses or audience here in the room. Thank you.
My apologies. Mr. Chair, I do have a question while I have the floor about our resources. How long do we have resources for?
6:30.
Till 6:30? Okay. I'm going to say at this moment, I'm going to move to suspend this meeting. Thank you. Why?
It's not a motion.
Mr. Jonas, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I did want to start by making a comment with respect to the rules of committees and how committees abide by the rules. And Mr. Green and I actually first met at a debate hosted by the Catholic Archdiocese of Toronto. So I think he'll appreciate, if he did sufficient prep for that debate, reading this section from the great play A Man for All Seasons about St. Thomas More, in which William Roper, Thomas More's rather eccentric son-in-law, says to the future saint, "So now you give the devil the benefit of law," to which Thomas More replies, "Yes, what would you do, cut a great road through the law to get after the devil?" To which Roper replies, "Yes, I'd cut down every law in England to do that." To which More famously replies, "Oh, and when the last law was down and the devil turned around on you, where would you hide, Roper, the laws all being flat? This country is planted thick with laws from coast to coast, man's laws, not God's, and if you cut them down and you're just the man to do it, do you really think you could stand upright in the winds that would blow? Yes, I give the devil benefit of law for my own safety's sake." An important reflection, I hope, for members as they consider whether or not it is wise and judicious to show shameless disregard for the long-established rules of parliamentary committees simply in order to achieve the objectives that they want. Members who think that overruling those rules through constant challenges to the chair is going to be in their long-term interests are fooling themselves. They should understand that adherence to the rules, be they certainly man's rules and not God's, to quote the play, nonetheless is what preserves us in our roles as members of Parliament and our ability to fulfill our functions. Mr. Chair, where are we right now? We have Minister Anand, who I don't always agree with, but I certainly appreciate being able to ask questions to, a very busy minister, as all ministers are, who has come before this committee to answer questions for merely 1 hour, and I would have hoped we would have had the opportunity to ask questions about the work she is doing as Minister of the Treasury Board. And instead of allowing those questions to proceed, we have a member of the NDP who is on a crusade to get parliamentary committees to work as little as possible. If anyone wants to know what are the animating causes that Mr. Green is excited about,
Sorry, Mr. Janus, let me interrupt for a second,
I'll sit
please.
back.
Mr. Kuzmierczak?
If I can just ask him to lower his voice and volume and step away from the microphone. We want to look after our interpreters and translators.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
appreciate Mr. Kuzmierczak, but we said before, if there is an issue, whether it's too close, too loud, microphone or earpiece too close, the translators will let the clerk know and then we will interrupt.
We just don't want to repeat, Mr. Chair, of what happened in the House, so we're very
That
sensitive
was
to
a
that.
completely different situation, but I appreciate that, Mr. Kuzmierczak. Go ahead, Mr. Janus.
Thank you, Chair. And if there were any problems with the sound, I'm happy to start from the top. Is there any? Okay? I have assurance from my francophone colleague here that it's not necessary for me to start from the top. So I'll continue. If the people of Hamilton would like to know, what are the animating causes for Mr. Green? What are the things that he gets up in the morning thinking about when he decides which issues to prioritize? I know some members come to Parliament and they think they want to focus on economic issues. Some members come to Parliament and they want to focus on social programs. Some members come to Parliament wanting to focus on foreign policy issues. Mr. Green comes to Parliament and he thinks, how can I create a situation in which members of Parliament have to work less? He is going from committee to committee. This isn't even his regular committee. He's not a regular member of OGO. He is going from committee to committee, moving motions designed to reduce the workload of members of Parliament. This is his mission. This is what has brought him here, Mr. Speaker. He has come to Parliament in order to reduce the workload of members of Parliament. He is putting forward motions at committee saying that whatever happens, whatever the circumstances, chairs cannot
I'm going to
convene
interrupt
meetings.
for a sec. I'm hearing lots of chatter back and forth. Can we please, Mr. Janus has the floor. Let's just leave that with him, please.
Thank you, Chair. His motions are proposing that whatever happens this summer, whatever the circumstances, that committees cannot be brought back to do their jobs over the summer. I can tell you, I think that Canadians would expect something very different. Canadians would like to see members of Parliament working hard through the summer. Yes, going to constituency events, but
Rappel
also
au
being
règlement,
prepared.
s'il vous plaît, Monsieur le Président.
Sorry, Mrs. Vigneault.
Je vous...
Well, thank you for giving me the floor for a moment. I find this very offensive to hear a member of Parliament indicate that another member of Parliament doesn't want to work. It's very insulting for this colleague, whereas he is saying expressly that those weeks for constitutional work is still work. Now, my conscription, my writings people, they know I'm working. This doesn't matter. I will not accept that anybody will say I don't work in the summer.
The point, Mr. Janus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Look, with great respect, I would just say there's more virtue in telling the truth than in being offended. This member, Mr. Green, has it is a matter of public record, gone from committee to committee, proposing the same motion. It is a motion to say that parliamentary committees cannot convene over the summer. And we do not support this. We believe that the work of Parliament should continue.
Mr. Green, please. When you have the floor, you can speak. But please, okay, Mr. Green. I'm tired of the talking over. There's too much disorder here. I'm adjourning.